Hey guys, it's Bazz, and we all have that one relative that we're nice to at the family gatherings, but we completely shit on them behind their backs. I want you to picture whoever that is in your mind right now. You got it? Okay, good. Because that's what iTunes was to the rest of the music industry. iTunes was Apple's premier streaming service and the golden standard of digital music for many years. It was a promising app that provided a valuable service and, at one point, was the largest music retailer in the country. But like its meteoric rise, the downfall of iTunes creates one of the craziest what-if scenarios in music history. So today, let's take a trip down memory lane back to the history of this app, what it did right, where it went wrong, and if it's ultimately as good as you remember. As some of you might know, illegal peer-to-peer music sharing services like Napster and LimeWire ravaged the music industry of its merit during the late 1990s. To fix that, tech giant Apple hopped into the driver's seat with a brand new software for the 21st century. In 2000, they acquired a small IP called SoundJam and developed it into a simple music player for Macs called iTunes 1.0. That next year, CEO Steve Jobs proposed iTunes 2.0, a completely safe and legal store for people to purchase music publicly. That was announced alongside the first iPod, which was a portable device that could play all of your music. At the time, Apple looked like they were taking a gamble. They figured they had an audience that would actually pay money for digital music instead of pirating it, provided the process was convenient enough. You could buy your new favorite songs for 99 cents, but you could also supplement your library with music from your own CD collection. Let's just say Apple proved everybody wrong. Almost overnight, Steve Jobs secured contracts with all 5 of the major record labels to offer their content on the new software. Within the first week of iTunes' existence, there were 1 million Apple users that downloaded the software. After the company added the service to Windows in 2003, there were 25 million downloads. In the middle of 2004, 100 million downloads worldwide. iTunes was now the expected way to buy your music. They kept climbing and climbing, then in 2008, they eclipsed 5 billion total songs sold and surpassed Walmart as the US's #1 music retailer. All the while, they made concurrent changes that were simple yet intuitive enough to make the interface of iTunes clean, organized, but most of all, accessible to the masses. It seemed like nobody could dethrone Apple and its hot new software. Well, almost nobody. There just so happened to be this random Swedish company by the name of Spotify that was proving to be a worthy opponent to iTunes' success. It didn't mean much at the time, but they were offering ad-free access to a library of 40 million songs to people in Europe. And for a monthly fee of $9.99? How nobody in America was jumping at the opportunity to use this software is beyond me. 3 years and $100 million in investments later, Spotify finally made its way into the US. And now iTunes had a real problem on their hands. Spotify was miles ahead with their download speeds, playback rates, even their social aspects took a subtle jab at them. They could scan your iTunes library and let you play those tracks in their app. But it's not like purchasing music digitally was going out of style just yet. For the first time in history, digital sales now accounted for over half of the music industry's revenue. At the same time, Apple's continued decision to sell songs for just 99 cents on iTunes led many artists and record labels to become upset. They were accusing them of stripping the value out of their music, which was a legitimate complaint on their end. Even though iTunes was still in their prime, so to speak, their insouciance towards competition and the music industry was pretty astounding. As they were down on their luck, corporate made some very unusual decisions to keep the service afloat. Cue iTunes 11, the software's first significant UI change. It dropped in late 2012, and for the first time since its existence, iTunes stopped being clear how to navigate. Like many companies at the time, they chose to go with a more modern design philosophy, which basically meant making the interface more minimalist. By default, they hid the classic sidebar and added a drop-down selector in the corner to switch between the different media types. You could still restore the sidebar and work around the other cosmetic changes, but they really missed the mark on this one. It turned a pretty sizable group of people away from using iTunes going forward, specifically less experienced Apple users they were trying to target with their simple service. Apple did another overhaul of the software in 2014, and in September of that year, they went completely off their rockers. Apple's new CEO Tim Cook partnered with U2 to release their 13th studio album, Songs of Innocence, as a free download through iTunes. When you're applying a physical business model to a digital one, it just sends the wrong message to the rest of the industry. It reiterated the point many of them brought up just a few years earlier. Apple was essentially stripping the music of any and all value that it had. Tack on the irritation of hundreds of millions of customers that had the album added to their library without their consent, nor having an option to delete the album, and that's about as close to the dictionary definition of recipe for disaster as it gets. The final nail in the coffin came for iTunes in 2015 when Apple started a paid streaming service of their own. In just a little under 5 years, streaming had now dethroned digital downloads as the industry leader in sales. Spotify already had a significant head start with 30 million paid users registered on the app. Despite starting so late, Apple has been able to hold its own with a fairly decent market share. iTunes stuck around until mid-2019 and broke off into separate books, podcasts, and music apps. So while it may not have broken the tech juggernaut that they are, their mishandling of a beloved software is a clear blemish on the company's name. Nowadays, we all laugh at the idea of buying songs for 99 cents a piece or an album for around $10 when we could have listened to millions upon millions of songs and albums for the same price. Yet, there were almost a billion users on iTunes by the time it was all said and done, so they must have been doing something right. For me, it's just sad to write and reflect on something that was a pretty important part of my childhood. I speak for myself about the joy of getting an iTunes gift card for my birthday, Christmas, or some other holiday. Once I got more iTunes money, I would go on our old family PC and spend an ungodly amount of time browsing through what was new in the store. Back then, every purchase felt like it had value. When you only had a set amount of money to spend every couple of months, you had to be smart with it. I wanted to buy music that had some longevity instead of trendy songs or stuff I wanted to try out. But when I discovered Spotify in my early high school years, digital purchases became less and less of a need for me. Let's even break out the math here. If I were to use iTunes today and continue my past reviewing trends of about 5 albums priced at $10 times 12, I'd need to budget upwards of $600 annually. I could always listen to it on YouTube, pirate it, or whatever, but with my monthly fee for Spotify Premium, I can venture into whatever albums I want without serious financial repercussions. As I've pointed out, iTunes was built in a different time to solve a different problem, and they fixed it to perfection. You could hear a song and then buy it for yourself. This was a way safer option than contracting some nasty computer viruses from LimeWire or Napster. While I never had problems with iTunes myself, researching the history of it made me realize that it might not be as great as we all remember. It's pretty crazy how Apple had numerous opportunities to capitalize on the opportunity of creating a streaming platform, but let them go to waste as time went on. They made a lot of quick, panicky decisions to keep treading water instead of sitting down and creating a game plan for the future. Today, you can still buy music from the Apple Music app, send people gift cards to it, but come on, name one person who does that. The music industry is continuing towards paid digital subscriptions, so the audience there is very little, if even one at all. Both Spotify and Apple Music have learned from where iTunes went wrong, and by virtue of that, they can provide a much better and more complete service. Regardless, you do have to give Apple credit where it's due. I actually came across a really great idea that one tech columnist at Inc. brought up. Their claim was that iTunes is one of the most important inventions Apple ever had, simply because of all the things that were created from it. If there was no iTunes, it makes you wonder if there would have been the introduction of the iPod, the App Store, Apple Music, maybe not even the iPhone as early as it came out. At one point, those things right there made up almost 90% of one of the world's most valuable companies. I guess it's just another example of those big corporations exploiting the masses with their ingenious payment ecosystem. Am I right? Shit. Well, after I'm done editing the video, I just realized I probably shouldn't have ended with that last bit. Half my family's pro-business. They'll completely criticize me if I talk about corporations in a negative light. So does that mean I'm everybody's least favorite relative?